Hello, interpersonal students. Today we're going to learn about media multiplexity theory and how this relates to relationship maintenance. Much of our class focuses on face-to-face communication, and we don't spend a lot of time on computer-mediated communication. So computer-mediated communication is simply communication that we do interpersonally through some kind of computer device. So typically your texting, your email, your Facebook, social media, all of that is its own field. But at the very least, we can at least do one theory that ties in the presence of mediated communication into relationships, and that's media multiplexity theory. So if you just pause the video for a second and think about a close relationship that you have with someone, and think about all the different media that you use to communicate. So just on your notes or marker boards or whatever you're using, think about who the person is, the type of relationship you have, and then rank order all the different media you use to communicate from 1 to 6, 7, however many media that you use. So go ahead and pause the video for that. Now, when I've done this exercise for students in my face-to-face classes, I'll have students who have like their best friend. They communicate in 8 different ways. They have 8 different apps or media that they use to communicate. And some of them, will have even just 2. And some, like I remember one student, it was face-to-face and calling. That was it. But I remember one had like 8, and there was like these different apps, and then they also game together. So there's one game where they talk, and there's one game where they don't talk. So think this is how our relationships develop. It's not just through talking, but also finding these other ways to connect and relate to each other through the affordances of media. Now, media multiplexity theory has a set of terms related to it or associated with it. The first is tie strength. So media multiplexity theory takes a social network approach to relationships. I'm going to choose a different color because that's hard to read. It takes a networking approach to relationships in the sense that it tries to view your relationship with your partner as part of a wider network. And not just of people, but of different media. So first we have tie strength here. And tie strength is the combination of time, emotion, intimacy, and reciprocity exchanged in a relationship. So the more time, the more emotion, the more intimacy, the more reciprocity that there is in a relationship, the greater the tie strength that you have. So of course, your best friends, for example, are probably people who you have strong tie strengths with because you put a lot of time, emotion, intimacy, and reciprocity into the relationship. So a strong tie, then, is one that requires more time and energy, but also brings more belonging and fulfillment. You can think of it in terms of social exchange theory. There's a lot of costs, but there's also a lot of rewards, okay? And there's also weak ties, people whom you interact with rarely or infrequently. Now, in a network, you're going to have people who you have strong ties with, people who you feel very close to. Maybe at your work, there's 20 people at your job, but there's only like 2 or 3 people who you talk to on a regular basis and who you feel like you communicate with regularly. Those are your strong ties. Now, there might be 3 or 4 more other people who maybe you talk to like every once in a while. And, you maybe do like experimental level communication, maybe like, a little bit of facts, type communication. Now, here's the thing. There's not a lot of costs, but there's also not a lot of rewards to a weak tie. So there's high costs, but there's high rewards in a strong tie. There's low cost, but also low rewards in a weak tie. Now, a social media website like Facebook, for example, you might have your strong ties, like your best friends who you talk to on that platform. And then you might have people who you sort of like maybe post on maybe every once in a while, and those are kind of your weak ties. Now, here's the thing though. Strong ties and weak ties both have benefits. Like, it's nice to know that even if you're not close to someone, like on a strong tie, you still have that ability to talk to other people and get to know them on a weak tie. What you also have though, in a social network, are latent ties. And latent ties are technically connections that are technically available, but you've never actually activated them. So they're connections that are available by virtue of the medium, but you haven't activated them. So a latent tie might be on Facebook, for example. There might be a list of suggested friends whom you sort of know, but you've never added as a friend, and whom you've never talked to on Facebook. You've never interacted with them. So a latent tie is somebody who the connection is there, but you never activate it or act on it. So maybe you've added some random person on Facebook and you never see their posts and you never interact with them. That also might be a latent tie as well, because the connection's there, but you just never take up on it. So if you look at who you interact with on Facebook or Instagram, you might have 1,000 followers, but there's only like 5 people who you really post all the time. Those are strong ties. Maybe there's 10 people who, you maybe post on theirs every once in a while. And then there's the latent ties, people who you've never even talked to, posted, responded to, or anything like that. So there are people who are in the same network as you, but you've never interacted with. Now, one of the ideas of media multiplexity theory, and it's not a super groundbreaking concept by any means, but people with stronger ties use a wider variety of media. Okay? Now, one thing that is new to media multiplexity theory is this concept. First, communication content, so we're just going to put com content and just know it doesn't stand for communist. So communication content differs by tie strength rather than by medium. Okay? Now, what does that mean? See, a lot of people think that if you communicate with someone over text, for example, or if you communicate with someone over Snapchat, that you can't have a deep relationship because it's over text and because it's over Snapchat. What media multiplexity theory says is that actually tie strength is what's going to drive how intimate any medium actually will be. So notice that through text, you might have had some of the most intimate conversations possible through texting. Maybe you've really opened up with somebody through text and you had like a texting buddy and you've shared really important details about your life. Or same thing with Snapchat. Maybe you've taken a lot of intimate pictures on Snapchat. There is that thing called sexting. So sexting is a great example of how tie strength drives the medium, not the medium doesn't drive the tie strength. If you're really attracted to someone and you just feel like you got to show them your whatever, well then, you'll send them a picture and you'll make it happen. Okay? So one of the ideas is that people who are close intimately have no problem sharing intimate information regardless of the medium. And the other thing is that strong ties frequently exchange resources and will continue to do so regardless of the medium. Okay? So another interesting thing is that online exchanges are as real in terms of their impact on the tie as offline exchanges. So the communication in strong ties has real impacts online, in real life, in online communication. Next, another key claim, tie strength, so we're going to use TS for that, and media use cause each other. Now this is interesting. Additional chances to communicate via any means, whether that's Snapchat, texting, phone, Instagram, whatever apps that you use, it increases the chance that a relationship will become a strong tie. There are positive associations between tie strength and all types of media. So we call this multimodality. And that refers to using different modes of communication to form a connection with someone. So notice that when you first meet someone, not only do you exchange names, but if you want to keep the conversation going, you probably exchange phone numbers. But nowadays, I'm also hearing that actually before you exchange phone numbers, you exchange Instagram names, or you exchange Snapchat handles, or you exchange whatever apps that you feel most comfortable with, or your WhatsApp app, name. So in any case, the idea is this: the more contact information I give you, the more likely we're going to use those contact information and we're going to feel closer to each other. And then, thirdly, the addition, so we'll do the plus or minus, the addition or subtraction of a medium alters the nature of ties within a social network. The effect of adding or subtracting a medium depends on the strength of the tie, but changes to the media alter strong ties only minimally, but may change the nature of weak ties considerably. So consider this. If you blocked a friend on social media, that's going to have some huge implications for you and your friend. Or quitting, maybe you and a friend play Call of Duty together, and then you stop playing that. That might alter the nature of your tie in that network. And with latent ties, that, could be possibly, destroying those third-degree connections between you, the latent tie, and the people who might be connected between you and that latent tie. The only people that won't really be affected are strong ties because they employ several other media for relational maintenance. So if you have a weak tie or a latent tie and you cut off that specific medium, that's really damaging for your relationship. If you have a strong tie, there's still hope because you have these other forms of connection. Now, here are the limitations to the theory. First, there's no clear mechanism yet of what about multiplexity affects relationships. Is it the frequency of interaction that all these apps and different ways of communicating bring? Is it the nature itself, of the app, that kind of helps with that too? Because if you use Snapchat, does that mean I'm going to share certain types of photos with you versus if I was just texting with you? We don't really have a clear mechanism yet. But another thing is, it's not a theory of media choice. And so it's still pretty broad. So the theory still needs to be more specific about what types of media do people tend to employ, which ones might have, because not all media are going to be equal, right? Perhaps if I blocked your phone number, for example, and let's say we communicate through text, Snapchat, and Instagram, I think blocking your phone number is going to be more culturally significant and relationally significant than, say, blocking you on Instagram, right? So there's not necessarily there hasn't been a lot of detail yet in terms of, do certain media have more weights than others? And then thirdly, another problem with multiplexity is that it's curvilinear. Okay, so what does that mean? It's curvilinear. What it means is this. There is a degree where adding multiplexity is good for your relationship. Okay, so your relationship goes up. So so we'll have number of media here, and then we'll call this relational intimacy. We'll call it happiness. Let's call it happiness. Okay, so we add media. The more media we add, it starts to get cool. We feel happy and stuff. So when we say something is curvilinear, what happens is it goes up, but then it starts to reach a point where it's too many, and then it starts to go down, okay? So the idea is that relational happiness starts to go up, and then it starts to go down as more media get added to the situation. Because here's the idea. If you have too many media, it can become too burdensome to keep up with all the different media of one person. And then you have all these problems. Like maybe you added somebody on Instagram and then you post a photo that, maybe makes your partner upset. Well, having that extra medium now actually made your relationship worse. So whenever we say something is curvilinear, we're saying it's good to a certain degree, but then it reaches a point where it becomes too much and then it starts to be bad. Something else that's curvilinear would be like medicine. There's a degree to where medicine is good for you and it makes you feel good. But then there's such thing as overdosing on medicine, and where you take it too much, it starts to make you feel bad because you're overdosing on Tylenol. So that's the idea. That's media multiplexity theory. It's going to tie really well to our next theory on communication privacy management. See you there.